Takano, you're first with this next one. AARP would like to know, how would you put Medicare on stronger financial ground and strengthen it for future generations?
Well, I actually, applaud the president for strengthening Medicare by closing the prescription drug donut hole. I'm the only candidate who has signed a pledge to protect Medicare, to protect the benefits of Medicare, and to not turn it into voucher care. I've invited my opponent several times to sign that pledge, not only to sign the pledge not to turn into voucher care, but also to refuse to vote for any speaker that will make Paul Ryan the chairman of the Budget Committee. Medicare is a sacred promise we made to our seniors. They're benefits they've earned over a lifetime. As your member of Congress, I will do everything possible to make sure that we keep that promise.
Thank you.
There's no doubt we have to protect Medicare. We have too many seniors that are dependent on Medicare, and we have to ensure that it is maintained. And I will commit to you, the public, that we will maintain that. I don't sign pledges. I don't sign pledges to Grover Norquist, the non-tax advocate. I don't sign pledges to anyone other than to the voters who elect me to office. That's what I'm elected to do. So I appreciate Mark asking for that, but I have refused to continue to sign pledges to anyone. The only pledge that I ever signed was my wife's pledge to marry her 44 years ago. And continue, and we love each other to death. But Medicare must be maintained, but yet Medicare must be reformed. It must be reformed to become more efficient, at the same time protect the seniors that are depending on it. One way you reform it is to get the $716 billion back that they pulled out of Medicare to put into the Affordable Care Act. That has to go back into Medicare. In addition to that, ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you firsthand, there's billions of dollars of fraud and abuse in Medicare, and they need to address that first before they start talking about how they're going to cut it.
Mr. Takano, do you have a rebuttal?
I do. I'm disappointed that John Tavaglione wants to persist in telling this lie about the $716 billion. It is not something, thank you. It is an absolute lie. He knows very well that Paul Ryan proposed the same thing, but only Paul Ryan just took it straight out. What Obama did is he took the $716 billion out from payments to insurance companies, put the money back in to extend the life of Medicare, and also closed the prescription drug donut hole so our seniors aren't nickel and dimed into poverty.
Thank you. The next question is first for Mr. Tavaglione. Riverside League of Women Voters would like to know, are corporations people? Please explain, especially in regard to campaign financing.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Are corporations people? Explain in relation to campaign financing. Your view.
Campaign financing. I'm not making the title to corporations.
What it's getting at is the Supreme Court said that corporations are people and therefore can give unlimited.
Thank you. Well, the Supreme Court, I'm not going to argue with the Supreme Court, as I wouldn't argue with them on the Affordable Care Act. Do I think that there is too much money put into all levels of campaigning? Absolutely. Do I think that if they pass a law or any type of restriction on campaign financing reform, that it's going to change things? No, because with every reform they find a way around it. It's been proven here in the state of California.
Mr. Takano?
Well, to answer the question, of course the Supreme Court got it wrong. Corporations are not people. People live, they breathe, they feel, they die. Corporations don't have to die. They can go on forever. To say that corporations should be able to give unlimited amounts of money, just as I'm seeing huge amounts of corporate money being tossed into this race right now, hurling unfounded claims. They're saying that I'm for raising taxes on small businesses when I've actually said the opposite. this is an unprecedented amount of money that I've seen in 1 week. It's $220,000. We must end this. I'm going to go to Congress to make sure that we address this error that the Supreme Court made in their judgment.
Mr. Tavaglione?
Once again, I think corporations are people. Corporations are made up of people, investors, individuals that are the lifeblood, as is small business, of our U.S. economy. And without corporations or small business, our U.S. economy doesn't survive. They're the ones that built America, not government.
Mr. Takano, the next question is the term war on women justified?
As far as what this ideological Republican Congress has done, yes, it is justified. It was a war on women to hold up the budget, not on abortion and funding Planned Parenthood, but over the question of contraception and women's health. It is justified. The idea that women who live in Indian reservations are not protected from spousal abuse. These are ridiculous. This is a ridiculous ideological Republican Congress that I am going to go to redress. Thank you.
Mr. Tavaglione?
Well, this is an area where Mark and I are going to agree. I think that we need to do everything we can to protect the women of our country and give them the rights and continue the rights that they already have. But at the same time, when we talk about contraception, when we talk about abortion versus pro-choice, we're not on the abortions question, but I'm a pro-choice individual. I think a woman should be the one making her own decisions. And, women, I sit alongside many women in our county organization, and I will tell you, they're a heck of a lot sharper than many of the men that are in our organization.
Hear, hear!
Mr. Takano, do you have a response?
Well, I'm glad that Mr. Tavaglione says he supports choice, but again, I think what he says in the end won't matter, because on the first day of the organization of the new Congress on January 3rd, he's going to vote for John Boehner. And John Boehner, and that's simply going to empower the Washington Republican ideology, which got us into this mess and who perpetuated the war on women in the first place.
Thank you. Okay, the next question. Can we depend on you to serve with an open mind and willingness to compromise with others to make important decisions about our national debt, Social Security, Medicare, etc.? Mr. Tavaglione?
Let me say why in my opening remarks, I didn't get a chance to touch on. The only reason I'm going to U.S. Congress, the only reason I'm running for U.S. Congress, is to make a difference in bringing together a bipartisan effort. Ladies and gentlemen, I sat around watching the debt ceiling debate on my CNN, whatever it was at the time, and I was disgusted by my own party and the Democrats not being able to come together for the benefit of our country. And I looked at that debate, and I looked at my grandchildren sitting next to me, and I'm thinking, my God, what is in their future if we continue down this path of partisan bickering and partisan gridlock in Washington, D.C. I have experience in this. I've been doing it. I've been married for 44 years. I've compromised in my marriage for 44 years. In the private sector, that's all I did was compromise. And in government, my 5 terms on the Board of Supervisors, I compromise every day with my colleagues. We don't all see eye to eye, but we agree to disagree. And that's what we need back in Washington, D.C. Otherwise, our country is going to fail.
Well, you know, I come from a family of all Republicans except for the new niece, and for a while I was the only Democrat in the family, and we all got along just fine. I've served, 22 years on the Board of Trustees at Riverside Community College, and we've had a bipartisan mix. One of the most successful things that I can point to is when we changed the statewide funding formula for community colleges. Riverside Community College is among the lowest funded community colleges in the state. I told Salvatella, if you need to hire Senator Brulte, a former Senator Brulte, to be our liaison and work through a legislative strategy, do it. It was on top of the bipartisan effort of the trustees of community colleges all throughout the state. We came together and we raised and equalized Riverside Community College's base funding. I have experience working across the aisle. Heck, even after a bitter election in 1994, I went and visited Ken Calvert, and we got an earmark for Riverside Community College. So yes, you can count on me to work in a bipartisan way to attack our nation's problems.
Thank you. Mr. Tavaglione, do you have a response?
I do. I have a response. You know, ladies and gentlemen, there's an organization in Washington, D.C., in the House of Representatives called the Blue Dog Democrats. Those are the conservative Democrats. Well, those that have a tendency or want to work across party lines in order to bring common ground to our nation, just as a moderate Republican like myself. Not the Tea Partiers, but the moderate Republican like myself. Mr. Takano refused to sign a pledge to the Blue Dog Republicans, basically saying, I have no intention of being conservative. I have no intention of working across party lines, and that's a fact.
Thank you. The next question is, list 3 bills you would sponsor or co-sponsor in your first term. Please tell why. This is Mr.
Let me just say that I do have support from Blue Dog Caucus members, from Joe Baca, right next door, who's a Blue Dog, and Congressman Thompson from the north, who's coming to my district. I will work with anyone to bring jobs to Riverside County. Remind me of the question.
List 3 bills you would sponsor or co-sponsor.
Let me just try to get one bill then. I would like to see, besides the American Jobs Act passed, the bill I want to work on is helping young people learn how to become entrepreneurs, and providing them with opportunities to access microloans, in order to begin the skill learning process to become entrepreneurs. We can do that at the high schools and at the community college, and I think we really need to build a culture of entrepreneurship. That's one of the bills that I would like to work on first.
Mr. Tavaglione?
Yes, thank you. 3 bills. First and foremost, a jobs bill that gets the economy back on track and gets small business back in business. We have too many businesses suffering today. Yes, 47 duplicative training programs in 8 agencies to keep people trained. The people that are going to train young men and women for jobs are the businesses, the small businesses of America. Secondly, a transportation bill that's not 5 years, that's 7 years. And I will tell you why. It takes 15 years oftentimes to get through the federal process to build one bridge. To get 7 years, even a 18-month, 5-year bill is not going to happen. And then finally, I'm going to find a way to structure a program that brings our veterans back into the community and puts them back to work quickly. We have too many veterans coming back into our community from conflict, and they're unemployed, and many of them are homeless, and we need to pass legislation that's going to help them.
Mr. Takano, you have a response?
Well, my response is, this is all well and good, a 5-year, 7-year transportation bill, but the House only passed a 2-year transportation bill after they completely rejected it. After they came to a bipartisan consensus in the Senate. Again, this is not going to work if John goes there to vote for Speaker Boehner and empower the Tea Party Republicans.
Next question for Mr. Tavaglione. First, how would you protect Social Security for today's seniors and strengthen it for future generations?
Well, I think we need to reform Social Security and, again, allow it to be more efficient and get the federal government to make it more efficient. You know, it's no different than Medicare. Medicare is filled with fraud and abuse. Social Security has fraud and abuse. And the only way we're going to save Medicare, the only way we're going to save Social Security is by making cuts and efficiencies in governmental agencies within the U.S. government. And I can tell you, just working with them firsthand for the last 20 years, there's huge waste.
Mr. Takano?
First of all, let me say that I'm the only candidate to have the support of the National Committee to protect Medicare and Social Security. I'm the only candidate to have pledged to not change Medicare as we know it. I am also firmly committed to not raising the retirement age for Social Security, nor do I favor means testing it. These are benefits that the seniors have earned over a lifetime. No one has the right to take them away, and I'm going to defend those rights to the utmost. Finally, let me say that we must, in order to take pressure off the budget, make the wealthy pay their fair share. That's why I support allowing the Bush tax cuts to expire for those who are earning $250,000 or more.
Mr. Tavaglione, you have a response?
Rebuttal. Well, you know, I'm not in favor as well of increasing the age on Social Security. I am in favor of reforming Social Security so it's sustainable well into the future for those that are young and are going to depend on it as they enter retirement. I will tell you today I had a meeting with one of our retirement systems at the county, and 11% of the employees that put into their retirements, only 11% of employees throughout this retirement system, this is a nationwide system, put into retirement because they're depending too much on Social Security. We need to change that.
Thank you. Next question to Mr. Takano first. As a congressman, how will you eliminate the problem of college graduates not being able to find a job?
Well, we need to expand employment opportunities generally. We need to pass the elements, as I said, of the affordable, of the American Jobs Act. We could do much to, and some of those elements are, I've kind of said them before, aid to counties and states to make sure that we can keep firefighters and cops on the job, keep teachers from being laid off. Much of our unemployment here in the county is a result of public sector employment increasing. We've had a slight uptick in small manufacturing, but it's been more than offset by job losses in the public sector. This Republican ideological Congress rejected that part of the American Jobs Act, I'm sorry to say. Again, 3 million jobs that are available to Americans, according to President Clinton, and they're not being filled because we lack the training and the skilled people to fill them. We could be keeping those jobs, we could fill those jobs and making sure that we expand job training programs and establish new ones. I've got a 200-person waiting list at the RCC to get into the culinary program. Similar waiting lists exist for the nursing and physician assistance program.
Mr. Tavaglione?
The way you put students back to work, ladies and gentlemen, is to allow small business to grow. Small business to grow in accordance with free enterprise. Allow them to access capital so that they can reinvest into their businesses and grow their businesses through manufacturing. That is how you create jobs. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the American Association of General Contractors, National Association of Realtors, They have all endorsed me because they know my job performance and job
taking care of the 1%.
knowing how to allow people to obtain jobs. They know that I know how to get people jobs, and that's why they have endorsed me. And you do it by letting the free market system work.
Yeah, like
Mr.
trickle
Takano,
down.
Mr. Takano,
Like trickle down.
It sounds to me that John Tavaglione wants to double down on trickle down. We cannot trust him also on Social Security. I mean, he's no moderate. He raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to re-elect George W. Bush, who then went about trying to privatize Social Security. He knew that. No, Mr. Tavaglione is endorsed by these organizations because they know that he's going to protect tax cuts for the rich at the expense of the middle class.
Next question is, what is the #1 economic challenge that California faces? How does it affect the district, and what is your solution? This was Mr. Tavaglione first.
Number one problem that affects California is California itself. The state legislature and the policies that take place in Sacramento. I've had firsthand experience with the overregulation, the unfriendly business environment, climate that is pushing business away from California and creating more and more unemployment. And that too is a result of the state of California and the state legislature and their partisan bickering and inability to get along. And quite frankly, in my view, it's because of lack of experience of many of our electeds back in Sacramento. That's our #1 problem, in my opinion.
Mr. Takano.
Well, I think the #1 problem is the fact that so many people are out of work and there's not enough revenue from people who are on payrolls to pay taxes. We have a huge problem with the devaluation of property because of the mortgage crisis. This has created quite a bit of a revenue crisis. I believe as a local government, someone in local government, that also we need to rebuild California, restore the authority of local governing boards, because I think that we will restore faith in the ability to get things done at the government level when we give local government officials more authority to get things done. I think people trust the local leaders. They see what they do. They can hold them more accountable.
Here, here.
The legislature is somewhat distant, like Washington D.C. is, and I think one of the keys to restoring, I think, our faith in government, period, is to reconnect people. I'll give you an example. Student fees are something that I don't control at the local level. That would be something that would be, if it were in my hands, something that we could give the people a choice over locally. And there's, I think, all sorts of ways that I think John would agree that would happen at the county level as well.
Time is up. Mr. Tavaglione, rebuttal?
Well, I think what Mark said is that you need to grow government. I think I heard him say that. In my view, you need to lessen government. You need to downsize government. Government needs to get out of the way of small business. You, as individuals and your family, your ability to grow in order for our state to grow. And the sooner we can do that, the better and the faster our state will recover.
Next question is for Mr. Takano first. What proposals do you have to streamline regulations for local small businesses?
Well, we can do much as a member of Congress, I'll do everything possible to keep my doors open, to listen to our small businesses. I can assure you that as a teacher in the classroom, I've experienced many of the adverse consequences of the No Child Left Behind law, the unanticipated consequences when people in Washington make decisions. They don't realize how they have ramifications for people at the end, like me, the teacher. So I very much understand much of what a small business person goes through. My mother owns a small business, and she tells me a lot of the struggles she's had with the city, the state. So I think the key thing is that And also, I think people have anxieties over the Affordable Health Care Act and how it's going to be implemented and the burden it might have on business. I certainly, I want to anticipate some of those issues and keep my door open to listen to the concerns of small business people in this community, and I'm committed to making sure that the regulatory burden is not undue.
Mr. Tavaglione?
Well, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, I operated and opened my first business 1 month out of high school at the age of 18. I did that for 2 years and continued operating and owning businesses, both small and large, for 25 years. I've signed the paycheck. I know what it's like to put people to work. I know how hard it is to keep them to work, especially in down cycles. The U.S. Small Business Administration, the American Small Business Administration, indicates that $1.75 trillion each year is charged to small businesses in terms of regulation. There are over 200 additional regulations currently under consideration, and each one of those 200 additional regulations are going to cost small businesses $100 million a year. Add it up, ladies and gentlemen. The government has gotten in the way of small business through overregulation, and that is holding the growth back of our country.
Well, from what I've heard tonight, endorsements by big business organizations that endorsed him because he favors tax cuts for the wealthy. He wants to deregulate. Gee, tax cuts for the wealthy. Let's deregulate. Let's double down on trickle down. Sounds like the same old failed Republican policies that got us into this mess in the first place.
Amen.